Hi, this is a Elf for you. Today I'm going to be continuing reading the fic An Attempt to Fly Under the Radar by Water in a Bottle. Chapter 2 Tea and Something of Notice. Summary Izuku loves his lunches with All Might. This time, however, he makes a realization about his protege. Izuku loves his lunches with All Might. It wasn't just because of the fact that the symbol of peace spent one day a week sharing a homemade bento box with him. He made Izuku homemade lunches, but it was just nice to spend some time with him outside of training. Sometimes they talked about One for All, but other times they talked about anything and everything, from the book series Eternity that he'd gotten the old man into, to how his classes were going. President Mike was telling me about how well you did on your last English exam, the old man said as he held his cup of tea. You didn't hear this from me, but you were amongst the only two of your classmates to get both of his extra credit questions right. Great job, young Doria. The praise felt nice. It always would, especially from All Might. And he felt his cheeks redden as he shrugged and took a sip of his own tea. I've been reading some really interesting books, and one of them actually had a second bonus question in it. It better not have been Eternity. All my teeth grinning at his protege. You know I'm only one book behind, and if I found out that you went back on our agreement and have been reading ahead. No, not at all. The teen frantically promised, waving his hands in front of him, unaware that his mentor was just riling him up. I've been reading other books. I swear, I've been reading the third volume of a comic book series called Captain Hero, another book called A Treatise of Human Nature. The second bonus question was from page 43 of A Treatise of Human Nature, and the quote we had to pick the correct translation from was, "Reason is an out only to be the slave of the passions and can never pretend to any other office to serve and obey them." If you really think about it, that can be applied to the fundamentals of a heroics, because a hero shouldn't only save people because that's what they're factual obligated to do, but that rather because it's the right thing to do. It falls into the four virtues as well, as justice is the main virtue a hero should have. Man, no one is better at spouting rare vomits than you, kid. Ahmed got him with a laugh. You sure One for All didn't enchant your speaking ability along with your strength? Friendly ribbing aside, as Izuku sheepishly stopped his rambling and looked up at his mentor, he noticed an unreadable expression on his face. It was the same one he had after he rescued both him and Bakugo from the sludge villain last April, and the same one as when he offered to train Izuku to receive One for All. The same day, I said that he saw something in his eyes. It said that he saw something in his eyes, something no one else had bothered to see up until now, something he wanted to help nurture and develop. Sorry, I didn't notice I was mumbling again, he mumbled, staring at his laugh. Everyone gotten onto me about it. All Might shook his head and waved him off. Don't apologize, my Prince of Nonsense. He still had that look on his face, and Izuku wasn't sure how he felt about it. It sounded like it was a really interesting read for you, and it's great to see you so passionate about your studies. Why don't you let me borrow it sometime? We can bounce some ideas off of each other. Izuku immediately nodded and excited smile growing on his face as the bell rang, making it falter just a little. Realization then have to get back to he'd have to get back to class and assume his mission of staying under the radar hit him hard, and he slowly set his teacup on the table and got up, brushing off his pants. Was he stalling? Yes. Would it make him feel late? Probably. Did he care at the moment? No. He loved these moments with his mentor, and it was up to him to make sure that never take them for granted. Sure, it's in my backpack, so I'll lend it to you after training today. All-Mate beamed at him, shooting him a thumbs up as he also stood and led them both out to the door. Sounds like a plan, my boy. One day later, Toshinori was stupefied as he sat in the teacher's office and flipped through the book young Midori had lent him, a treasure of human nature, as an absolute behemoth to read through. 480 pages, with President Mike's bonus question being on page 43 as stated, and it was littered with post-it notes containing annotations and fleeting through digesting the text, annotations and fleeting through that were surprisingly right on those notes. This was really easily a university-level piece of literature, and his 15-year-old protege had broken down the text to something he could understand and apply to his own opinions to it. Opinions that could easily be tied back to the original work. Clearly the work had hit home for him, but this was a university-level piece of literature. The green-haired boy was a 15-year first-year high schooler who wouldn't be able even be taking philosophy until university if he chose to attend. Clearly, young Midori was smart. After getting to know him, and even after just meeting him, Toshinori figured out his intelligence pretty quickly. His analysis notebooks were proof enough. His point had only been reinforced by his grades once school year started. 4th out of 20 in a curriculum of advanced as advanced as UA's Hero course was nothing to sneeze at. But yesterday during lunch, as he listened to young Midori dissecting this book like he had read through it a million times, he didn't. The spine wasn't worn down enough for that. He got an inclining that maybe his boy was even smarter than he initially believed. But how? What do you got there, All-Might? The symbol of peace jumped as he turned around to scowl at the sudden intrusion into his personal space. The store's President Mike cheekily grinned at him as he sat at his desk across from him. Aizawa was following behind. Nearby, he could hear Midnight and Samantha's voice approaching as well. Well, the alone time was fine while it lasted. Damn it, Mike, Toshinori muttered, closing the book. Do you really have to scare me like that? It keeps you on your toes, the young man said with a shrug. And besides, it's not my fault you make it extremely easy and fun for me to want to keep doing it. Trying to fight the fond smile growing on his face, he passed the book over to his colleague. President Mike could certainly be a lot to handle at times, but Toshinori liked him, both as a colleague and a friend. The man just radiated good vibes and positivity, making it near impossible to stay annoyed at him for too long. To answer your question, I borrowed this book from young Midoriya, he explained. We were talking about his last English exam, and he had some pretty interesting insight about the second bonus question you gave. It came from this book. The young blonde made grabby hands towards it, and her eagerly flipping through it. It was when he got his hands on it, he had told the old man that he'd seen the inspiration for his bonus questions in the paper, and he hadn't really expected anyone to get it right. He had been pleasantly surprised to see both young Yarurozu and young Midoriya get it correctly, and plainly said as much while they graded papers together. But as his eyes darted across the notice written down, his usually easygoing grin slowly morphed into an expression of awe. He let out a low whistle as he closed the book and handed it back to him. "Well done," he said, clearly at a loss for words. As Toshinori set the book to the side, "Well, I mean, I had my suspicions about the little listener, but..." "Wait, suspicions?" the old man asked, but maybe that too overprotective as he narrowed his eyes ever so slightly. "What are you talking about? Hadn't you noticed?" "Oh, my," Prison Mike incredulously responded. "Midori is smart, like really smart." Toshinori nodded slowly, not really sure of where the voice hero was going with this. "Yes, I have noticed. Young Midori is intelligent." "No, I mean he's really, really smart," President Mike insisted, looking at a little impatient that he was being so slow up on the uptaking. "He's like a little curly-haired sponge when it comes to English grammar structures, and you should listen to the way he compares and contrasts it with Japanese grammar. Structurally honest. Some of the insight he's told me about are things I saw when studying for the praxis exam." "Yeah, the kid's good at English. What a big deal. Are you just happy to have a student who's actually interested in your class for once?" Aizawa asked, looking and sounding thoroughly unimpressed as he kept his eyes on his computer screen. Ouch, that stung, and that comment wasn't even directly towards Toshinori. He saw the split-second hair flash across President Mike's face before he immediately asked it and continued on. Interesting. The big deal is that if he's this smart, why are his grades where they are right now?" At both men's confused glances, President Mike clarified, "I'm not saying that being ranked fourth is bad or anything. It's great, but don't you think he could easily be ranked higher up if it weren't for his grades?" The black-haired man shrugged. Then he should study more," he bluntly said. "If he's as smart as you guys say he is, then his grades should reflect that. His square control should reflect that. His decision-making skills should reflect that." The two blondes exchanged dark looks with one another, both silently deciding to ignore the third man from here on out. Their job was made easier by midnight and Samantha's entering the room, taking their seat at their respective desks after greeting their scruffy colleague. "Are you saying that young Midori might deliberately not performing to his full potential?" Toshinori asked, choosing to rephrase what he just heard in a much friendlier way. President Mike shrugged. "Yeah, I mean, what else could it be?" he bluntly asked. "I've heard him tutoring his other classmates in things that he'll get wrong on assignments, and it's not like he's telling them the wrong thing or anything. He's teaching them the right thing, meaning he knows what he's talking about, but he doesn't apply that to his own schoolwork. If he did, his grades would be way higher. And it's not just me either. Did you hear about what happened yesterday in first period math?" The old man frowned and shook his head. "Ectoplasm had them doing some trigonometry, and he accidentally made a typo in the equation that he had them solve. He didn't notice it until he was already done writing it out, but he wanted to see if anyone caught it. It looked like Midoriya did, but the kid looked like he was being put in front of a firing squad, like he was terrified of pointing out the typo. What's even weirder is that ectoplasm checked up on him. He seems that he had the correct equation written down. Toshinori frowned. I'll admit, that's super strange, but you know how shy young Dora is. Toshinori continued, countered. I'm not disagreeing with you on what you've seen and heard, but you know what? That boy avoids the spotlight like his life depends on it. Not what doing Not when doing heroics, President Mike countered back, leaning forward in his seat. Not when you're placed in a life or death situation. You put him in a practical exercise, and his potential is just bursting out into the open. His deductive, responding leadership skills, and strategization is in a class of his own. In the classroom, however, he returns into his shell. It's almost like he doesn't want anyone finding out about his academical potential. The more he listened to his younger colleague, the more the older man couldn't avoid the realization that he was right. He'd always known that young Medora was shy, but looking back, he saw that something wasn't quite right in regards to his protege. His intelligence versus his academical performance. Last year, young Midoriya's grade had been pretty bad, putting him 27 out of the 30 students in his class. Seeing both his schoolwork and his natural intelligence and drive, it made something in Toshinori not sit right. But with his boy being hesitant to elaborate on the matter, he let it go. He didn't want to push him into telling him anything he wasn't ready to divulge. Look, you knew him before you were right? Person might ask, and not a hint of judgment in his voice. Why don't you just try asking him about it? He likes you. He'll listen to you. What about afterwards? We talked to the rest of his teachers, and depending on what we see and hear, we give the kiddo an IQ test. That's the end of chapter 2. Here are some of the author's notes. I couldn't help but throw in a physics reference in this chapter. Also, Almond making Izuku home and lunches is canon as of the school briefs novel. On a serious note, though, I think this is kind of annoying how All Might and President Mike are given such high intelligence stats, but aren't allowed to use them. In addition, it's funny how they're seen as the village idiots in fandom, while Aizawa is seen as a god despite his horrible decisions and attitude. Some reader's notes. And now, again, I'm sorry about the stutter and some of the word butchering. I'm English. Again, English is not my first language, so I try my best. And thank you for watching. This is an elf for you.